mountains shake, the sky comes down, the mountains all fall to the ground. But I will fear none of those things. Shelter me, Lord, underneath your wings. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our first ever podcast. This is David Caudill at Polk Sporting Clays. I'm Michael Bartis of a lot of different things, and we are basically just first and foremost, we're going to talk about clay shooting, because that's what this is really all about. And then we're going to talk about some current event stuff throughout the podcast, and hopefully y'all agree with it. If you don't, that's why we're here, just to aggravate you probably.
We wanted to try something new out and see if it worked, try a different format, and then it's going to be an evolutionary process. It's going to become something more. We'll have a technical spot where maybe if you can't hit a presentation that's set up in a course out there that we set in a tournament, somebody will come on and talk to you about how to break that and maybe demonstrate it, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or you could be like me and I can't break anything with anything.
We're also going to update the calendar. This is going to be kind of like an announcement situation. We're going to tell you what's coming up in the next 3-4 weeks. Things like that.
Yeah, it'll be cool. Then we can talk about current events like politics or politics. Maybe politics.
Maybe not. Maybe masks. Let's talk about masks.
But isn't that a political thing?
No.
Okay. Well, I just thought it was. And then we're also going to have guests time to time. We don't know who they're going to be. We have some pretty cool people in our lives that we know that may be coming along, and we're not going to put it out there as of yet, but we're definitely making some plans. I have an organization called WAYS, stands for We Honor and Appreciate Your Service, and we work with vets, so we have some opportunities to get some pretty cool veterans to come over and tell us some stories and to talk to us about their service and the things that they've done to give us the right to sit out here on this beautiful dock and have an opinion. The name of the podcast is going to be On Target. And what was our tagline? The truth as we see it.
The truth as we see it.
The truth as we see it.
Polk Sporting Clays On Target.
That's right.
And at the end, the truth as we see it.
And that's the truth as we see it.
That's
yes,
right.
That's how we're going to end this thing. And then throughout the day, we're going to have some other stuff. We're going to end each episode with a Bible story. One of the cool things is that when we talked about this is I don't really want to do David and Goliath or David and Bathsheba or who else, Samson and Delilah, all those people, all the people you already know about. So we're going to go real deep, and we're going to bring up some people. In today's episode, we're going to talk about Mephibosheth, and I'll tell you more about that later. But
I still can't spell it.
Can you say it? Okay, that's the funny part. Is most people can't even really say it.
So just as a note, we're at the dock at the Florida Future Farmers of America LTC. We're sitting out on the dock. Right back here is our range, and I know y'all can't see it, but right over there is the Bach Tower.
Yeah, we're going to do some outros and intros with some drone stuff. I got a new drone that's really cool. I ran it into 2 trees today. David about had a stroke. I don't know.
We had footage. We have footage.
Yes.
We even have footage of the recovery.
That's right.
And
that is correct.
And quite frankly, he was all the way over at the club when it said critical low battery.
Yes. That was a little unnerving from here. And it said returning home. So maybe that's a great line for this, returning home. I like that, David. Returning
We're going to leave it for now.
Okay.
January the 16th, we got an NSCA shoot. For all the people that like to participate in National Sporting Clay shoots, that's going to be a good one for you. What else we got? I wish we'd have printed a calendar. The Winter Haven Hospital shoots on January 29th. That's a Friday. It's a pretty big shoot. A lot of everybody that's anybody's going to be here for that event. That weekend, after the Winter Haven Hospital shoot on Friday, we're going to pull a lot of machines and take them down to Mr. Troutman's, that's Pastor Troutman's, for the Wauchula Kiwanis Club event. That Wauchula Kiwanis Club event is on February the 6th. That's Saturday. That's a great event. It's budget-minded. And what we actually do is drop everything into a cow pasture and completely make a 2-course 20 Station Sporting Clays Gala. And we set it all up on the weekend before. We leave. We hope and pray that the cows don't tip, bite, chew, knock over machines, break clays, whatever. Friday night we show up, eat steak dinner, and host the event on Saturday.
Now, I got a question.
Then we tear it all back down and come back home on Sunday.
Is the steak dinner the cows that actually knock stuff over and chewed onto equipment, or are they there before?
They're dead before.
Okay, I was just making sure, because that'd be a great way to keep them from doing it.
That's right. I don't think cows' level of intellect works that way.
Oh, okay. I thought it'd be a great way to do it. But.
It would. Immediately after that, we have the North Lakeland Rotary Shoot. That's Chief Larry Williams, his Rotary organization with Jeff Fee.
And Scott Katz.
Yep. So that Rotary Shoot's going to be on February the 6th.
Or at least he wasn't there. I don't know.
That's the same time as the Baxter Shoot. Junior, Doug, somebody will be running that shoot up here, and we'll be running the other shoot down there. That's probably pretty good on the calendar, because that takes us out to Valentine's Day, President's Day, and that's all I see up into February 20-something.
Valentine's Day and President's Day. Does that mean you love your president?
I currently do.
Yes, I love my president too. That's our first political statement, just so you know.
Okay, what else we got? We did a calendar. I need to go to my outline.
So let's talk about Polk Sporting Clays. Tell us, just since this is the first episode, tell us how it started, where it came from, your history in shooting. Those of us who have seen you shoot, it just aggravates us. So.
Polk Sporting Clays actually started with Dick Pope at the Imperial Skeet and Trap Range in the 80s. Back in the old days, before Sporting Clays became this cliquey thing, a group of hunters would get together and set up some machines. And the way they did it in Winter Haven was they'd shoot 50 birds in the morning from one spot, and then they would go eat lunch. And they'd come back and shoot 50 more birds from a different spot, just to change the course up a little bit. And it was kind of an all-day affair. It evolved. Dick Pope, he ran it for a good number of while and used up everybody he could. Terry Turlington was involved in that, Jim Odell. Jim Odell eventually took over the Sporting Clays at Winter Haven Skeet and Trap, or Imperial Polk Gun Club. And he ran the tournaments out there for a good number of years. And that's how I was introduced. Somewhere along 97, 98, I started shooting trap out there and soon learned that was the dull game, and the real men played Sporting Clays. So I'd help Jim set up the tournaments and started shooting from there.
So there's a difference in trap and Sporting Clays?
Absolutely.
See, I don't know that.
Trap is primarily an outgoing target situation. So you shoot it from a quadrant, 5 different spots behind the trap house, and all the targets are going straight away or quartering just a little bit. Skeet is played on a half circle, 180 degrees, and they're crossing birds until you're at the 180 at 0 or 180. Then they're incoming and outgoing. So skeet's played around a circle, trap's played away, and then Sporting Clays is a combination of all the above. It was probably, I don't know it to be true, I wouldn't want anybody to call me a crazy wacko, but it was probably more invented to simulate a hunting scenario.
Yeah, I would think so.
Right.
Because I could see it 25 times, it still surprises me. Still.
So we hosted at Winter Haven Skeet and Trap. We left there. The Skeet guys and Trap guys kind of took over, and we left there. It kind of lay dormant for a while. We kept the club running. We moved to Tenor Rock. Middle Ditch left Tenor Rock, and we took over for Mr. Smith, hosting NSCA shoots at Tenor Rock, and that lasted for a little while. The state took it away from Mr. Smith, and we moved to Lakeland Rifle and Pistol. All the time, the dream was for us to get our own piece of ground, and that soon after this place became available, and that's a long time coming. That's how we got here.
So what do you hope to achieve with Polk Sporting Clays? What is your ultimate goal?
We really just enjoy people enjoying their Second Amendment rights, being outside, nature, and having fun. We love to support the community. We like for people to have charity events, host corporate retreats, and things like that. We love to help those people out and see all the camaraderie and happiness that comes from that.
Yeah, I can tell you, just being around the type of people that shoot and that kind of a thing. I mean, I grew up in North Lakeland, it's no secret, so did you. And that's kind of the people we come from anyway. So anytime we get to do redneck things.
Hey,
It's-
easy.
Well, tell me I'm lying.
If the shoe fits.
That's on target, and you know it.
That's right. That's right, Jack.
I always just say I'm an educated redneck. I don't even know what that means, to be honest with you. So
The complete and total evolution, there was, while we were at Lakeland Rifle and Pistol, I had an altercation with the IRS, and the altercations with the IRS aren't good. They sent me a bill saying that I owed them a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
It was then, and a lot of people wonder this a lot, how DDK, Polk Sporting Clays, and me and Keith and Doug all fit in this whole thing. But my daddy died in 16. The letter from the IRS came the same month he died. I was on my way to Pensacola to go see him, and I called Keith and Doug and said, listen, we got DDK guns. It's incorporated. Polk Sporting Clays has become a problem because my Social Security number is attached to all these liabilities. And if we don't do something about it, I'm going to have to shut it down. Well, we all agreed, David, Doug, and Keith, hence DDK, agreed that we would put Polk Sporting Clays under the umbrella of DDK Guns so it would have make it more of a legitimate business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it's at today. Basically, DDK stepped aside, Polk Sporting Clays Incorporated, and we're all of DDK is still part of Polk Sporting Clays.
That's cool. You're just a man that produces jobs for the economy, aren't you?
That's what we do. We make people happy.
I know you make my wife happy when our AC goes down. That's all I know to tell you.
That's sometimes I let you down a little bit this year.
That's all right.
But I always figure, being an AC man, all 9 months out of the year, everybody's beating me up because they're hot. I figure, wintertime, your heater ain't working, you'll be all right. You
That's
want
right.
to get there during the summer anyway.
That's right. In the summer, you can only get so naked.
That's right. That's right.
In the winter, you can put on all the clothes you want. You can do the Eskimo thing under blankets if you want.
That's right. Well, in the summertime, you want your house to get to 65, but in the wintertime, you want it to be 75.
Isn't that the weirdest thing?
I hate it. That drives me crazy.
I'll tell you, human nature. I like it 70 year round, so could we just work that out?
Yes.
Although it's causing some condensation, probably. Anyway, neither here nor there. So, I was going to tell you, I met a real interesting guy this week who was a Vietnam vet. You want to hear a crazy story?
Yes, absolutely.
This is not, you cannot share this with the Army. So, he was outside of a village. I'm not going to have him tell this story because I'll probably do a vet talk with him. And I'm not going to have him tell this story, but I'll tell it for him. And he was up on the side of the hill, and there was a woman that was using a water buffalo to, cultivate her rice paddies.
I thought water buffaloes were meaner than that.
Well, over there they
That
use
must have been one bad woman.
I'm just telling you. So, so he said that this old bull, everything was just in plain sight in this old bull. So he thought it would be funny. So he put a scope on that old bull on a certain part of his anatomy. He said about the time that that's a true story. That's the only reason I'm telling this. This is a true story. About the time that she strapped herself onto the back side of that thing to begin plowing, he opened up with that rifle and shot him right there. And he said that bull started running through rice paddies. He said she would go and he'd come out and she'd fly 10 feet in the air and fly right down into the next rice paddy. Now, he said he kind of felt bad, but thank God she was okay. That's the only reason I can tell the story. She was fine. The funniest part of it is when it was all said and done, she jumped up and took the straps off and beat the crap out of that water buffalo because she thought the water buffalo had just lost its mind. So, I digress. These are the stories you get from veterans. We all have a soft spot for our vets, and hopefully political leanings aside, I hope all of us understand and appreciate what has happened, what they've done for us as a nation and as a people. It's unbelievable to me that we would just as soon forget history or rewrite it. That seems to be the thing right now.
That's right.
It seems like they're just saying, okay, well, we know the victors write the history, but it's far enough away now that we can rewrite it.
Just recently, I saw where they took down another memorial. I think it was about Abraham Lincoln and the emancipation of the slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Just recently, I think last
because
time I saw it.
and the reasoning was that from what, now this is the news, let me talk, but the reasoning was that he was not good enough to the slaves after their emancipation. So I don't know that. Read your history. Read real history, please. Not that silly thing they're teaching in schools now.
That's right, or Facebook.
Yeah, or Facebook, or Instagram, or anything. Google, Facebook, any of the fact checkers, the check fackers. Come on, people.
I was watching Unashamed.
Read your history.
I was watching Unashamed with Phil Robertson yesterday, and Jace is using his phone to find out stuff out. And Phil pulls out an encyclopedia. He had a real encyclopedia book, and he updates it every 10 years.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Didn't even know they still had encyclopedia
I didn't
books.
either.
You know, I to drive that point home, I was watching a documentary on Nazi Germany the other day, and they used fake news. They really used fake news to convince the Germans that the Nazi Party was the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I sat there and I thought, man,
Here we are.
here we are. Fake news twisting a whole group of people to do things that we just don't understand. I don't know. Do you? I don't understand.
That's bad.
I don't understand. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So what are we? No, we can cut
We
all
did
this
history.
out, obviously.
Yep, we did history.
No, there. Yeah. Well, I was going to add in some other stuff.
Okay, go ahead.
Because I've been keeping up with a lot on them. One of the things that I think is so important is that I think that sometimes we forget the cost of our right to run our mouth and have an opinion. That includes us. I mean, it was, but I think the major thing is that is do you honor those people with your opinion? I think that's the big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that so many people have died. I was watching that same documentary. If you're bored, you need to go to Netflix and watch World War II in color. You need to watch the history of Roman Empire. Educate yourself. It's absolutely incredible what you'll find out if you educate yourself. But you know, the battle of Stalingrad. Okay, now the U.S. wasn't in that, but it was very interesting because the Germans and the Russians fought that. And the reason I bring that up is that it's just interesting how two governments, one communist and one nationalist, both of them socialist, socialist, decided that one was more powerful than the other. So what was crazy is the reason that Hitler went to Stalingrad. You know the reason Hitler went to Stalingrad?
Mm.
Because it was called Stalingrad. And he figured if he could go take out Stalingrad, it was a slap in the face to Joseph Stalin. It was just arrogance.
Gotcha.
Do you know why Stalingrad was defended so powerfully?
Because it was
Called Stalingrad. So what he did is he was heading down to Uzbekistan. Don't ask me why I remember this, but he was heading down there. He sent half his army down to get supplies to come back and fight, and he took half his army and went to Stalingrad. Well, he goes into Stalingrad, and he thought that was just going to be a pushover place. But when Stalin found out what he was doing, he sent
his whole
a million people, a million. Russian women fought in the war.
Wow.
In sniper and in combat missions. Mm. By the time it was over, Stalingrad was completely leveled, and 1.8 million people were killed.
Wow. That's crazy.
Two socialist people who decided that they could do better for their own people by making them bow to the government.
Right.
By the way, Stalin himself killed 20 million people. 20 million. World War II, total death count of World War II was almost 60 million people worldwide.
Wow.
because we wanted to combine everything and make sure everybody, one for all for one. Anyway, I think you can figure out where I was going with that. Anyway, so next.
Next what?
What are we talking about next? You're going to have to obviously edit some of this.
No.
Just so you know the time.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
No, we did good. We did talk about Polk Sporting Clays, histories, goals, mission statement, etc. Upcoming events for PSC. We did that. Guest speaker or topic of the day. We didn't really do that. Lay out the format. Oh, yeah, we're pretty good.
Yeah, we didn't do topic of the day yet.
What's the topic of the day?
Is there a topic of the day?
Today we held the Greater Winter Haven Junior League.
Junior League.
Can you help me with what Junior League's about?
I haven't a clue.
Junior, you got any input on that? Well, I know it was a bunch of ladies. Well, check this out. I got a really cool story about Junior League of the day. So, you know me, I usually end up with my foot in my mouth. And it's early morning and the coffee wasn't flowing real good, and I'm out there with these two ladies.
I'm looking at what Junior League means, what they do.
Okay, Jace, go ahead.
Okay, you do that.
So I'm out there with these two ladies getting the course ready, checking the targets and all that stuff. And I tell them in the wrong way that I was thinking about buying a team, but $750 seemed like too much. And I went, oh, dang, I just upset these women because it was the lady running the event. So I start feeling bad about that, and I'm going through my day, and I'm making sure everybody's doing good, making sure the event's running and this kind of stuff. And I pull up to the Greenbird station, and I'm like, you know what I'll do? I'll just throw some money at the charity event anyway. So I buy Greenbird station. I said, ladies, y'all mind if I shoot the Greenbirds? No, come on. So I gave them a $20 bill, and I went up there, and I shoot the way I typically shoot, which is whatever, and I break 3 of the 4 Greenbirds. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. Now I got Greenbird tickets. You can't win that, and if you do win it, you're going to have to give the money back. So I'm just going to give the tickets away. So a little bit later, I come up here to check on them in the lunchroom. And one of the ladies is there, and I hand her the tickets. I say, here, these are yours. So she takes them. I walk away. Everything's good. I go around, do my thing. We're cleaning up the course. We have to do a shoot-off. Cody Sharp and Nick Pizzakoulis tied today's course with a 48. And they chose to shoot off, so we took them out there and let them shoot off. And Cody actually ended up winning. Well, I come back from that, and the ladies say $208. And I'm like, what are you talking about, $208? She said, that's how much the Greenbird was. I said, that's how much y'all raised? She said, no, that's your half. I went, oh, crap. I didn't win the Greenbird. I gave those tickets to that lady. She heard me say that, and she said, yay, the Junior League got some money from the Greenbird. So they got the full amount. I'll donate it back to them.
That's the way it should be.
That's the way it works right there.
I like that. I like that.
So by the time it was all done, I made up for what I did at 7:30 in the morning by pissing the women off, and they actually invited us to eat lunch with them.
Here, the Junior League of Greater Winter Haven, Inc., is an organization of women committed to promoting volunteerism, developing the potential of women, and to improving the community through the effective action and leadership of trained volunteers. Its purpose is exclusively educational and charitable.
Kaylee, is that right, Kaylee? Kaylin was here all day, and I don't know how many of y'all personally know her, but she's about 10 months pregnant. And she hosted this event like a trooper.
It was in the water.
We were really scared.
It was in the water. There was a lot of them pregnant today.
That's right. There was a lot of them pregnant today.
Yeah.
So she did a real good job, and I think this charity event's going to become something big in the future. I think those girls are going to have it going on.
Yeah. It looked like it was a lot of fun. Not quite as much fun as the wave shoot, but that's another thing. We'll talk about that later.
Got to get them digs in there, don't you, Pardo? All right, so that's current events. We're good with that. What else can we talk about? Anything you think of, Junior? Range safety. I swear that we're going to do a range safety video one day. It's totally scripted, and what to do and what not to do. Because every time I stand up to do a range safety talk, and I look out there at the crowd and I see like 642 eyeballs looking at me, it makes my knees weak. And I forget everything I'm supposed to say. So I'm going to do one behind one of these cameras one day that's perfect, and we're going to send it to every charity event that comes here.
And make it required watching.
This is what is going to happen and not going to happen.
Everybody watches something that's required.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord. Maybe they'll send out a next vote. They'll send out a video of how to vote.
All we got to do is not by mail. and we'll be good. But that's enough of the politics, Mike.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
What else do we got? I think we're pretty good.
So do we want to talk about
You go with your story. And this will end up being about 30 minutes.
No, it won't be that long. We're talking about Mephibosheth.
Yeah.
Say it.
No. I know it's a chef. And he fibs.
Well, in the grand, so this is what we want to do. Like we said at the beginning, is I wanted to bring Bible stories that were, I think, relevant, and that were not as well known. And this particular one is one I use a lot. I actually have a gospel quartet that I sing with called Crossfire Quartet, and we have a ministry that we've been doing it now for a very long time, travel quite a bit, but this is one of the stories I share. So it's out of 2 Samuel, right? Is that right, Dave?
2 Samuel.
2 Samuel. So the first king of Israel was Saul. It's interesting. I could make this forever, but Saul, the people of Israel wanted a king, and they were warned that no, you don't want a king. But they insisted they wanted a king. So God gave them the best looking, the biggest, the tallest king that they could possibly have. Saul was the model. If there was a model of a king, it was Saul. So Saul went on about his way, and Saul forgot God and started to do his own thing, like we all do, right? Well, Saul had a son named Jonathan. Now, I'm skipping a lot of stuff in here because I hope you know David and Goliath, because that's the same David. So, when Saul was aging, Saul and Jonathan were killed around the same time. David was the heir to the throne. David and Jonathan were very close friends. He actually would say that he was longing for Jonathan. What do you think about that, Dave? Yeah.
They were buddies.
They were buddies. They were, and so, but the way it worked back then, sometimes it would be good for us to do it this way. The way it worked back then is where the king took over from the other king. Generally, all of his staff and heirs were killed, so that there was no treasonous activities. So, fast forward a few years, when David takes over from Saul and Jonathan's killed in battle.
It would be bad if they just killed all Trump's people.
I said it would have been okay sometime.
Sometime, okay.
I'm only kidding. Please, y'all, if you knew my sense of humor, please don't send emails
Carry on.
Lord help me. Anyway, so Mephibosheth was David's son. It was Jonathan's son. When David's army came to get him, his handmaid took him and ran with him. When she ran with him, he fell. She dropped him, and he was injured. He was permanently disabled. And they disappeared into the landscape, and they ended up in a place called Lodabar. It was basically a third world nation. And in Lodabar, he grew, and his handmaid was still with him. And one day David did what David does. You know, the Bible says that David is a man after God's own heart. And David started to feel conviction, and he was sitting there, and he started to cry and to weep. And he said, "Is there anyone from the lineage of Jonathan that I may show respect to?" And his advisor said, "Well, yes, there's one, and he's in the land of Lodabar. His name is Mephibosheth." And he said, "Bring him to me that I may honor him." So you got to get this image now. David is not just the king of Israel. David is the most powerful man on the planet. David is, a descendant or a predecessor of a guy they call Jesus Christ, the lineage of David. So, David was a big deal. And he sent his men to get this crippled man from his town in Lodabar. So the king's men show up in all of their regalia, and they go in and they say, "You've been requested by the king to come to the temple, to the palace." And of course, his heart stopped because he thought, this is the end of it all. How would you like that?
I would be scared.
Sitting there in your loincloth, chilling out.
in the desert.
Yeah,
Now I'm out.
chiseling your stone, whatever
I'm
you're
out.
doing. Yeah. So he didn't have any choice. He went anyway. So he goes, and this is the cool part of the story, and this is kind of the whole point of that I think that is important about it. So he entered into the throne room, and he entered in on his face, and he crawled in, and he says, "What would the king have to do with such a dog as I?" And the cool part of the story is that that's when David stood and he stepped down to where Mephibosheth was at, and he raised him to his feet, and he said, "From this day forward, you will dine with the king." I think that's awesome.
That's a very cool story.
I think what makes that story cool is that each of us, in our own way, have been in the land of Lodabar. We have all sinned and come short of the glory of God, is what the Bible tells us, but what it says is that through Christ we can be Mephibosheth, the very King of the universe, the very one who started it all, steps down from the throne of heaven and raises us to our feet and said, from this day forward, through his Son Jesus Christ, that we could dine with the King for eternity. And I think that's so huge. And I think that in a world of junk that we're going on right now, I don't even care which side of the fence you're on. It's completely up to you. But at the end of the day, if you miss what's going to happen after you close your eyes on death, I think you missed everything. It's real important that you have that figured out. I'm in the insurance business, and I can assure you, that's fire insurance.
That's right.
That's the most important fire insurance you could ever buy.
That's right.
And that's through a personal relationship with Christ. That's it. That's how we're going to do these. We're going to weekly have those as well, or bi-weekly, whenever we do these.
We're going to start a frequency. We're not sure yet. But what we'd like to know, when this one's published, we'd like to hear from you guys. What do you want to see? What would be good? We started out with this background. Obviously, we're at the FFA. It's all about Polk Sport and Clays. You want to see us sitting on a stand. You want to see us in the office. We were going to do it in the office, but the lighting's not right. So we're working on that. And let us know what you think so we can modify it to fit your needs.
Heck, we'll even go out on the course and watch David shoot some stuff.
No, nobody wants to watch me shoot anything.
Okay, whatever. Junior, you got anything else for the good of the people? That's how my pastor always said.
It's been a great, I don't know if it's because of the season, if it's Christmas and New Year's or what, but it's been a fabulous 2 weeks. Every time I pull in this parking lot, it's like full. It's blown me away.
That's awesome. There was a lot of people here this morning.
There was. Well, that's because there was an event.
Well, right. But, there's a lot of people at the event.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Anyway.
All right.
Is that it?
Yes, that's it.
So, this is David and Michael signing off.
On target.
And that's the way we see it.
Amen.